So now in this section, we are going to talk about some US specific privacy laws. Please remember, you don't need to mug up these things. Don't put up so much strain on your brain, right? See, as per GDPR, I know this slide may be a little misplaced, but there are some terms which you need to understand when it comes to privacy. So let us discuss this, right? What is a data subject? A data subject is a living entity, right, whose data is being shared. As simple as that. Data collector is the entity who is finally accountable and completely accountable to safeguard the information which is coming from the data subject. But what happens sometimes is, for example, now this UIDAI in India, right? They are collecting Aadhaar card related information from all the citizens, right? So who is the data subject here? It is Indian citizens who are giving that personal information for creation of their Aadhaar card, right? Who is the data collector here? Sorry, data controller here? It is UIDAI. That is government. Government is responsible for safeguarding this information, right? But in the entire process, because this project itself is so huge, government cannot go to each and every individual and collect that information. It's really a difficult task. So what they do instead is they have shared franchise with multiple banks. So these banks are working in behalf of the data collector, that means UIDAI, and collecting that information from the end citizen and creating their Aadhaar card. But finally, this Aadhaar card data will go where? It will go with data controller, that means UIDAI, right? So there is fine line difference. You need to understand this, okay? Data processor is not finally completely accountable for it. It is just working on behalf of the data controller, right? The final entity responsible for this entire safeguarding of data is the data controller. Now, when it comes to US, right, you can see lot of regulations out there. It all started in 1974. Wherein people were concerned that federal agencies should not do a mass surveillance on people and all. That is where they came out with 1974 Act. Then Electronic Communication Privacy Act. It relates to wiretapping people, listening their conversations, about their personal conversations, and targeting them. So this is where this particular regulation, ECPA, came to protect against that situation. Then in 1996, Economic Espionage Act, right? This is what you already have gone through, right? It is also providing safeguard to your trade secrets. Economic Espionage Act. Then in 1996 also came Hipaa. See, you have to understand this difference. US is little different than European Union. European Union believe in a central regulation, but in US the approach is not centralized. It's a sectorial approach instead. Sectorial means industry specific regulations. For example, for finance we have PCI DSS, for healthcare information we have Hipaa and all that, right? For finance we again have SOX and all that. So this is called a sectorial approach in US. That is why you see so many regulations here, right? So in 1996, they came out with Hipaa, very strict guidelines when it comes to health related information. Because in US, people go with a lot of insurance thing, right? And that information can be misutilized. So health information does not mean that only hospitals and those people are coming into picture. Any insurance related organization, health maintenance organization, hospital, physicians, insurance companies, all that comes under the preview of Hipaa, right? Now, Hipaa was further amended and this high-tech came, Health Information Technology for Economic and Clinical Health, right? So Hipaa was amended further in Feb 2009, and they widened the scope of Hipaa, introduce new data breach notification requirement. So it also talks about what if any healthcare related information database is leaked by someone, right? If the number of users are so much, they are liable to send end user communications also, right? So that is also one of the liability. Then there is a specific law for children's online privacy. We call it as COPA. In 1998 it came, because what happens is people like playing online games, and while they register for these games, they share some personal information. So this regulation mandates that they need to take consent from their parents, right, before giving that information to them. Then another one is the Gramm-Leach-Bliley Act, right? So this is also called as GLBA, came in 1999, and it is also called as safeguard rule. It is more related to the safekeeping of institutional financial data, right? So this is all related to financial data. And then came FAIRPA. It is related to educational institutes. Educational institutes also contain like, they also collect a lot of privacy information, right? They should also not misutilize it. So that is where in 1974 that FAIRPA came. So these are some of the regulations. I highly recommend go one-liner. If required, you can take a screenshot of this slide. Should be sufficient for your exam. Don't go and dig at this point of time too much. Otherwise, you will get lost. You are not a legal counsel. You are just a security professional trying to understand what all laws are applicable for what. Right? That's what. Now, the next thing is this EU-US safe harbor. So what has happened is there is a difference in the way privacy is treated in European Union and US. I told you in US, we already have a sectorial approach. So European countries were little concerned because companies, they have their branches in US also, they also have branches in EU also. How do they communicate related to personal information, right? So for that, a bridge happened. This US-EU safe harbor is a bridge kind of thing which has come up, right? And any company who is, you can say, accredited to this, right? I go and declare that I am in compliance. I will remain in compliance with this regulation, right? So that is where I will go and contribute to that. And any company who showcase that they are compliant with US, EU specifications, they can go and trade freely between US and EU, right? But somewhere in, I think, 2014, there was a case which came up. Somebody filed a legal case against this, and then this was made null and void. And now this is taken over by EU-US Privacy Shield. What we call? EU-US Privacy Shield, which is much more stringent than the earlier US-EU Safe Harbor Act, right? So at this point of time, like I checked this, I think the last batch, this particular shield is still to be implemented completely, but I don't know what is the current state on that, right? So you may go and Google it, right? It was actually adopted as per the regulation in 12th July 2016, but implementation is still ongoing. That is what is my understanding. But go ahead and validate that, guys.